Hello and welcome. My name is Rochelle Ward from the Export Council of Australia, and today I'll be discussing the Export Awards application questions and how best to answer them. I'll also drop in some tips on what the judges are looking for as well from some of our past winners. It's really important to know that any questions you have, you can redirect straight to your state representative, and at the end of this session I'll provide all those details for you. This webinar should go for about 20 minutes, so it's not too long. Okay. Thanks for joining us, and let's get started. Okay, first of all, I'd just quickly like to run through how this program works for those of you that are new to the program. It is a two-tier process. So what happens is this program runs simultaneously across every state and territory in Australia. There's 12 industry-specific categories, which I'll talk about in a minute. If you were to win one of those industry-specific categories, the application that you submit then goes on to compete at a national level. Okay, the only way to enter the national awards is through your state program, and as mentioned, it's only one application that you need to complete. So if you win at a state level, you automatically progress to compete at a national level, and I'll go into that a little bit further as we go through. Okay, these are the 12 industry-specific categories that I mentioned. Now, for those of you that have been in the program for a while, you may note that the online sales is now e-commerce, and the information and communication technologies is now digital technologies. So when you're selecting your categories that you go into, think about what category you want your company to be publicly associated with, okay? And it's really important that you read the criteria. Too many times people go in and tick all these categories and they're just not eligible for them. So say, for example, small business, that's quite popular, but the criteria is for sales not exceeding $5 million, but that's both domestic and offshore. Okay, so you do need to read the criteria because people tick all these categories and at the end of the day, unfortunately, they're exempt from the category. So, you know, it's a bit of a shame. So please read through that and think about the categories that you'd like to be associated with. You can enter more than one category. That just increases your chances of winning, but you can only win in one category. So you can win in one and you can place as a finalist in another. Okay, so each of these 12 industry ones, they could have a winner and 2 or 3 finalists in each category. Okay, great. This website here is available for everybody. Now, the program, it can continuously adapt to what's happening in the market, okay? And this year is no different. So many states offer individual categories as well as the industry-based categories as well. We do this because it reflects what's happening in the market, and it also gives, attracts a wider audience or a wider application base, okay? But please note, the winners of the state-based awards, they don't go on to a national level. Now, that website there, if you go onto that, you'll see a map of Australia, click for your area, and it will tell you the categories that's available in your state or territory. For example, in Queensland this year, we have a new Women in International Business. We also have a state-based award for innovation, and one for emerging, which is really, really popular, and that's for those exporters that have been exporting for less than 3 years. It's a really popular category as well. Okay, quick overview of the questions. Okay, so there's only 6 questions to answer, and you can see the weighting for each of them. So it's really important that you read each of the questions, read all the requirements, and tick them off if you have to. Go through it and address them. Where you can, link the questions, and I'll run through that a little bit later as we get down into number 3. I can also assure you it's really obvious to the judges if you haven't read the whole question. You've got to think that the judges are going to mark your application on this piece of paper they've got in front of them. So they need to allocate points to each of your answers. If you miss the question or miss part of the question, then they can't allocate you any points for that. And trust me, too many times the difference between a winner or a finalist or a finalist and not placing at all is 1 or 2 points. Every point matters, okay? So it just makes a massive difference. Just read through it, go back to basics, read through it and answer all the questions, read the criteria. Okay. Executive summary, it's only 200 words and there's no points allocated to the executive summary, but it's probably one of the most important parts of the application. It's your introduction to the judges, so it's really, really important that you capture their attention really early on in this stage, okay? Be sure in your executive summary, be sure to explain who you are and what you do. The judges may not be familiar with your company, so this is like introducing them to you for the first time. Make sure that you list your competitive advantage, so why are you better than your competitors, and just simply talk about what makes your company so great. You can list the achievements over the last 12 months along with any stats, and just when you're writing this section, just bear in mind that this text will be used by the awards program to describe your company, and that could be in press releases, magazine editorial, and case studies. So keep it really concise and make sure there's no technical language. Make sure it's easy for people to understand. Okay, just some more tips on that executive summary. So when you're looking at your key strengths, just think outside of the square, okay? Think about, maybe it is that you've got a better priced product, or maybe you've got greater product features, but maybe it's more innovation or it's new technology. It could be down to your packaging, your logo, your website, your corporate responsibility. So just a proven model, longevity in the market. Think outside of the square, okay? Don't just think about dollars. Just think about what you do and how you do it well, and convey that to the judges. Think about the whole package. And it's true in saying to write the summary last. It really helps to have all your information in the one place, and then you can put your executive summary together at the end. Okay, so question number 2, we've got 10% weighting here. So 2.1, provide a brief history of when and how your company started, including key milestones. You've only got 100 words, so there's not a lot here, but judges love to hear about how you got started. So how your company's product or service started exporting, and really define the company's international competitive advantage here. Think about your diversification and think about your achievements. And as I just pointed out, don't use technical language. People get caught up in their own terminology, their internal terminology, and it just confuses the judges. They might know nothing about your business. So think that you're explaining a brief history about your company to somebody for the first time. It's really important to get that across. Describe your product or service. Okay, so the first one, 2.1, was a brief history of when and how your company started. 2.2, describe your product. So now you're really going to articulate what it is that you do, what it is that you export, whether it's a product or a service. If you can, benchmark against your competitors. Any stats are fantastic, all right? So think about what industries do you sell to? What's your unique advantage in the marketplace, okay? If you've got a number of products as well, dot point is absolutely fine. Don't be shy to use dot point. You've only got 200 words here anyway. This forces you to be really concise and write about your product in a concise manner. If you can, explain where your product sits in the market as well. So maybe it's a one-of-a-kind, or the first or only one in Australia, or maybe it's a fast-selling product, or there's something special about your product and service that your competitors might lack. So really think outside of the square with this one as well. So now you're going to summarise your international business success. So this is for the last financial year, 15-16. So, and success can be found in all aspects of the business. So it's not just about the dollars, okay? So think about any contracts that you might have acquired, or market expansions, any new products or services that have been developed, international recognition at all, improved distribution channels. It doesn't need to be new, it can be improved, and how have you done that? So you're talking about your business successes here, investment in staffing resources, any new business practices, or any other innovations that you want to talk about as well. Don't underestimate what it is that your company's done. Don't think, oh, wow, that's just not such a big deal, I won't mention that. A few years ago, we had a company, and they were a winner, and they spoke about gaining this approval to sell their product in the US and Brazil, and it was a massive deal for them to get that approval, and it really, really opened the doors for them. And this was fantastic. They told us all about it, and the judges were really impressed that they achieved that and did them well. So many people also break down areas of their business and list successes underneath that as well. Again, dot point is fine. Remember, you're laying it out really easy for them to understand. Judges are reading a lot of applications, so they've got to be able to get to get to know more about your business in a very concise and quick manner. Again, use percentages and benchmarking if you can. If you're going to use anecdotal quotes, just try and to back them up with stats. Okay, now we're on to international marketing strategy, and as you can see, this is a 30% weighting, okay, so it's a bit higher now. So what we want to talk about here, explain your business strategy for establishing and maintaining current markets and for breaking into new markets. Okay, so have you used multiple marketing or advertising channels? So if you're marketing into a number of different markets, so say you're going to China and Brazil, do you have a tailored marketing strategy for each area? How often is your plan reviewed and updated? Maybe you've only got a small market share, and that's absolutely fine, but you've identified that market, and maybe you're the only one in Australia that's capitalising on this. So think about, in your key markets, what did you do to secure international contracts and market acceptance? So what actions did you take? Was it product adaptation to meet customers' preferences, building relationships with distributors, addressing cultural issues? That's a big one. Attending trade events, or what's your techniques to overcoming buyers' resistance? So think about all those key factors. And note, if you've entered in previous years, make sure you differentiate what you've done in this last financial year, okay? So make sure you stand out and tell the judges what's changed. Clarify the details. So, as we mentioned, 3.1 is outline your international marketing strategy. So what is your strategy? 2 is how was your international marketing strategy implemented, okay? So what were the activities? So now you're thinking, and dot point, a lot of people use dot point when they're answering this because, again, you've only got 400 words, but think about your communication. So what activities did you actually do? Was it person-to-person marketing, word of mouth, trade shows, overseas trade missions, traditional advertising? Don't forget about your international print or radio or TV, print marketing. Think about your business cards. Is your business card translated at all? Is any of your brochures or your flyers translated into another language? That's really important. Search engine optimization. What have you done on your website? What about email marketing? People go, oh, geez, we don't really do a lot of marketing, but they're sending out a newsletter once a month to 500 people or 5,000 people, whatever it is. That's your email marketing, and that's what we want to hear about. Talk about how online technology has really assisted in building your international branding. Think about webinars, Skype, all your social media and your websites. It's really important that you list here what you do. If it's not listed here, the judges just aren't going to know about it. So again, don't underestimate what you do. Okay, so the first one was describe your strategy, and then 3.2 was how did you implement your strategy, and then 3.3 of inquiries that you receive. Don't underestimate what you've done. So past winners have listed things like any media attention, market share, actual sales linked to activities. And think about what's happening in your industry as well. In the past, some people have listed that there's been certain growth was achieved in their industry, even when there's been a downturn. Okay, you've only got 100 words here, so it's not a lot, but you're just talking about what you gained from your marketing strategy. 3.3.2. This is for those entering the e-commerce category only. If you're not entering the e-commerce category, please, it's a waste of time to answer this question because it won't be addressed. If you are entering that one that category, then you know obviously you need to answer this question. It is 400 words, so it's really important for this to stand alone. So it's not something that's covered in your previous marketing questions. With 400 words, it gives you a lot of room to really focus on what your strategy, so how did you implement it and what worked well out of it, okay? And there's a list of ideas on there, your customization, your mobile technology, your customer service and how that worked. You complete the annual total sales figures for both domestic and international markets as well, and the form does auto-calculate too. (3.5) again, another financial question. So as you can see here, you're listing your top performing export markets. We notice here that some companies do not enter, that they gather the information by region, not by country. Whilst country is preferred, they will accept it if it goes by region as well. You can enter up to 9 different markets in there as well. 4.1, describe your international business model. Okay, so this is how you identify how your business's broader business model is supporting your international business activities. So this could cover design, processes, manufacturing, resources, distribution, cost structures, revenue streams. So your marketing strategy covers things like your international branding and customization. So the business model will talk about the vertical integration. So how you have greater control over the final product, which might relate to machinery, processing, and or how products are delivered. So think start to finish. What's your business model and how does the product end up in the consumer's hands? Is 4.1. It's only about 200 words, so again, it's not a lot. I think some of the hardest thing is meeting the word limits and fitting everything in it. It forces you to edit your information right down and be concise, which is exactly what the judges need. 4.2, so we're still in business operations and human resources. So outline your risk management process used to monitor your international business performance. Okay, so judges are looking at the structure of your operations and if you're prepared for export expansion. Okay, most people answer this question in dot point because it really works well and they break each of them down. So let's look at the question. They talk about legal and intellectual property. So if you were to break that down under legal and IP, you list what IP you have in place. Are you governed or audited by any regulators? Do you employ or utilise a trade lawyer? When you look at commercial risk, your knowledge on international markets, can your product adapt to a foreign market? What have you done to limit cross-cultural risks? Financial, do you have marine insurance? What's your payment policy? What about cash flow management? Do you have credit insurance? So export documentation, is that in place as well? And when you're talking about production, you can talk about just the machinery that you have. Is it updated? Is it replaced? There's a number of different areas. And don't forget, you've all got very different businesses, so this needs to adapt to your business. So you've got to answer this in line with your company. So it changes for everybody. Okay, but it's pretty straightforward. Business operations and human resources still, so describe your international HR strategy. So what they're trying to look at here is how you're geographically set up. So think about human resources, so your international sales force in structure. Oh, and don't be put off by this. If you're a small company, maybe you've got one export manager that works within your company, and that's absolutely fine. What is that export manager, how do you keep him up to date? Does he travel overseas? Does he do any training? Do you have staff that are multilingual? Do you allow your staff to go overseas for trade missions and meet with people and develop their skills? So they're trying to figure out, what is it that you do for your sales force structure to ensure the ongoing export side of your business. Again, it's only 200 words. That's it for question 4. So we're almost finished now. We're on to question 5, financial strategy and data. So again, this is entering dollar figures. There's not much I can do here, but I just want to reiterate that the judges are looking for evidence of a sound capital base, okay? So sufficient capital, cash and resources. So just to make sure they double check all the figures and no transcript errors are entered, because you'd be surprised how often that happens. Again, another financial question. So in this question, there's an opportunity to make sure you explain any losses or significant decreases in profits. For example, one year we had a company that had a massive decrease in their financial figures, but they didn't explain that they'd actually built a new warehouse, and that was however much that was. So, you know, we linked it together in the end, but they shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to spell that out and explain that in this category and make it as easy as you can for the judges to understand what's happening. Okay, final question. So, international business planning and direction. Okay, so this one is about your sustainability. So the judges will be looking at evidence of the company's commitment to international business. So what they want to know is what you've got in place to make sure your business will be still exporting in the next 12 to 18 months and beyond. Okay, so it's about sustainability. So just say if there's been a low dollar, or for whatever's happened in the industry, how does your business combat that? Okay, and how do they maintain the export business throughout the year? All right, so there's a few examples down there. New markets that you've got in the process that you're looking at, you're investing in R&D, that's a real big one. They want to know about research and development. Launching new products, maybe you've got a new product that's adapted to a new market, you can't wait to release it, and that's happening soon. New partnerships, employing new staff to support extra growth. All of those things are a massive key factor. It's only 200 words. Okay, so questions about the Export Awards program. As mentioned before, if you go to this website and click on the map for your state or territory, that will lead you to your representative, and please ask them any questions that they may have. As mentioned, my name's Rochelle. I look after Queensland, so I look forward to hearing any questions that you may have. But other than that, look, we wish you the very best of luck in entering the program. We have some great stories come out of it this year and every year, and we hope that this year that you're one of them. Best of luck, and please let us know if any questions, and thanks for joining us today. Thank you.